Subscribe today, Tommy, if you love movies.
Hey, look at boobies! I like movies. Hey, Cinema Gulp, where are ya? Help!
Hey, take it easy.
But I lost Cinema Gulp.
Stay calm. Just go to YouTube to subscribe and hit the bell for all the latest videos.
Hey, we're Cinema Gulp and we drink your cinema.
Thanks, Joe. Now I can subscribe.
And subscribing is half the battle.
That's what I'm from. Fill it up again! You know what? You don't have an answer for that, do you? F you, man. I'm sorry.
I like beer. It makes me a jolly good fellow.
Hey, remember when.
Is this thing up?
It's showtime.
Hey
guys.
Ford music, the horseback riding scene.
Yeah, I know. It's still growing on me from what was there before, which was just so perfect. But it's working for me. Hey, welcome everybody to Cinema Gulp. It's Humpday Happy Hour. Triple H, if you consider Hump Day one word, which we do. It's Wednesday, and it's sequelitis talk today, so that's going to be fun. Yep. And we are the original trio here today, starting out the show. For most of it, John might show up in a little bit, but until then, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But first, he's the Ayatollah of Flat Coca-Cola, the Mr. Underhill of steak sandwiches and steak sandwiches. It's Scotty R37.
Babu, thank you for having me once again. Good to see you guys.
And the high and the low of French baguettes. It's Joanne Elvira. Hey, don't ask me what that means. It doesn't matter. Scotty has never once questioned his intros, so don't start now. So what's everybody drinking this evening? I've got some Absolute and lime.
Oh, very similar here. Just vodka with freshly squeezed lemon juice and tonic.
Wonderful. Scotty. Oh,
I'm trying something new. Apparently it's called Pubist.
I was just going to say that.
Blue Ribbon out of Milwaukee.
Okay.
Right.
No, yeah, I got to get back. Beer's a weekend thing. Because I like to get the beer gut by Saturday and then work it off by like Sunday night. So we got some people in the chat already. Who do we have here to say hello? Let's see. Let's start up at the top. Theta Zord is here. Hail, Cinema Gulp. Yeah, I'm a child in a man suit. What of it? LOL. No, it's great. Hey, welcome, Suzanne. Theta Zord,
Suzanne.
hello, dear. I don't know who that is, but welcome and thanks for being here.
Suzanne's rad.
Oh, cool. Is she a Jill watcher or?
Oh, she's just a good luck charm of the entire tubes that are you.
Hey, Protein and a Bump Master, two of my buddies. Hey, Scott, Ben, Joanne. Hey, Lemon.
Lemon.
Good to see you, Lemon. And again, Theta Zord, thank you. Thanks for being here. And Lemon says, Scotty. And I'm going to let Scotty actually read this one from Max Redstone, my boy. I know him from Stark of Iron. He's awesome.
And that says, Ecloy talk?
I mean, that's a better guess than I would have had. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, Max.
Oh, and Theta Zord says, nice to see you, Joanne.
You too. You too.
I guess we're chop liver. That's okay.
Wow.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be hosting next week.
Again, a week. It's January. Talking about the box office is like talking about the NBA its first 3 weeks of the season. There's nothing happening, nothing. Moana is about $10 million away worldwide from $1 billion. It's definitely going to get there. Sonic 3, like those movies, they don't clean up at the box office, but they keep their budgets so moderate that they do earn profits to make each one. Like they really don't go crazy with their budgets, which is really smart for a studio to do. Probably has a lot to do with that it's not fully animated. While this third one was wild. It was the most like the video game ever, where the humans are like an afterthought, and it felt so much. It almost felt like a completely CGI movie, but it's not. And I think that keeps the budget down quite a bit. But I think internationally, it just doesn't have the appeal for some reason. It's not doing bad internationally, but it's probably going to like surface out around 500 million. I know that's not chump change, but it costs 100 million to make. So you've got some good profit margins in there for sure. With something, oh my God, I'm so happy for our boy Robert Eggers for one of the most beautiful looking, stunning. I don't want to say beautiful, stunning looking movies I've seen in years. Nosferatu, now in the profit zone because it only costs $50 million. That movie's
Really?
all on sets. It's so freaking amazing to look at, and it was $50 million. I know, whoa, $50 million, that's a lot. No, that's a mid-level movie these days. It really is. And worldwide, it's at 150, so it's technically in the profit margin, I think. I'm not a mathematician. Who knows?
Sounds like
Hey, John is in the chat. What should I have for dinner? Ooh, that's a good question. Depends.
PBR. It's not just for dinner, but.
See, let me.
Hi.
A steak sandwich and a steak sandwich. Nice.
There you go.
I was so we had such a fun time last week on our first Humpday Happy Hour of 2025. We went for 4 hours, and many libations happened. So I didn't do a very good job of promoting that me and Scotty did this really lengthy retrospective, not just a discussion, but a full breakdown of the 3 Fletch films and how they kind of compare to the books. And I'm really happy that it's doing so well. But if you haven't seen it, please see it, because I'd like it to do better. But yeah, it's doing really good. And it was Scotty's idea. It was a lot of fun to do. And it was a lot of editing, but it is all worth it, because it's doing well, and I'm happy about that.
Good.
Well, and you brought up something interesting about it as well, is that it was doing better than Sideways, or Sideways discussion and
It's
conversation.
kicking Sideways ass. Yeah.
Okay.
And so every time I bring it up to promote the Fletch retrospective, I'm like, and also don't forget to check out the Sideways conversation, because that was one of my best movie going experiences of last year, seeing that for the first time. So it deserves some love as well.
Well, and we can also, in the marketing, we can say, watch the Fletch retrospective. It's doing better than the Sideways retrospective. People like it more. and I'm fine with that. I was a little disappointed in the Sideways outcome, but you know what, it is what it is. Sometimes you just get.
We ain't found shit.
And that's how it happens. I've been looking for an excuse to play that clip forever. But yeah, Wicked still doing good. Wicked, the studio just fucked its own movie by putting it on VOD and some kind of streaming thing now. So now it's going to fall right out of the box office when it's still in the top 5. That's really stupid. I don't know why studios are doing this crap. It's kind of weird, but whatever. I mean, I think they look at it, Scotty, as like maybe they don't have to share the wealth with the exhibitors, like 50% of it or 40% of it going to theaters, but I'm sure they're giving a mad percentage to streaming as well. So I don't really know why they would do that so early when it's still doing well.
Well, again, it's a matter of the supposed decline of the movie theater, and I say supposed because of my own wishful thinking. But I think people, because that genie is out of the bottle, the toothpaste is out of the tube, and it's never going back. Is that people will just say, "I'll wait until it's on streaming," and that'll be either 2 weeks or a month, and then you're good. So people don't actually have to go to the theater. I myself, I'm a fan of the theater if it's something that I want to see, because I like having my attention undivided. I like the size of the screen, the sound. But yeah, but I think in this age of convenience, people would prefer to not have to put on pants and stay on their couches.
They don't wear pants at the theater. They put PJ pants.
I
don't know what theater you're going to.
To me, the theater going experience for me has been very important since I was maybe 7, probably earlier. But I have so many of my most vivid memories that aren't lying to me are from seeing movies in the theater. Just what I was eating as a snack, who I was with, like what was happening. The first time I ever saw a beach ball being thrown around in the theater was during Batman '89 at the Orange Cinedome. But John says, I'm guessing he's talking about Wicked. Made $70 million his first. Wow. Okay. Well, I stand corrected then. I don't know how you get that information, because I didn't think streaming money numbers were public. But wow. Okay. And then FKHC 2005. Welcome. And that train has sailed. Again, I'm guessing you're talking about movies staying in theaters. I think. I'm not really sure. On a more friendly note, we got one that says lemon pie says PBR is supposed to be a meal. Oh wait, that's Guinness. Yes, Guinness is much more of a meal. In fact, all the Irish pubs that I spent a lot of time in my college years in Chicago, when you go there for breakfast, a Guinness always comes with it. So
nice.
Right on the money on that. I'm watching films in the nude. I get it. I do the same thing. You can scratch your balls. You can press pause, but you can scratch your balls in the theater too. It's dark in there.
It is dark. I wear a poncho.
I do the same.
Yeah.
But then I'm just guessing here. But I wonder if they kind of look at numbers and they're thinking like, if the people who are going to see it in the theater will do it, most of them will do it in the first 3 or 4 weeks, let's say.
Yeah, you're right. But when it's sticking around in the top 5 as it's losing theaters, it seems like, but again, it's still in the theater. So maybe I should stand corrected on that and digress, because it's still in the theater so people can get that theater experience. And John just said Dan Murrell. Yeah, because Dan Murrell crunches those numbers. He's in Dan I trust when it comes to like box office numbers and stuff. He's a total nerd when it comes to that shit. I had to stop watching charts with Dan because every single sentence ends with $1 million. This made this $1 million. Oh, and we got this one, number 4, made this $1 million. I'm like, dude, stop saying $1 million. Just say the number. Say the fucking number. It's driving me nuts.
I love the Burbs.
I got my dad for his birthday a couple years ago. I sent it out to him in Arizona, a shirt that says "This is Walter," and it's got the femur bone.
Nice.
My dad loved that movie, and he called me up. He's like, "I don't understand the shirt." I'm like, "Your brain really is going to mush, isn't it, Dad?" Like, it's one of the funniest quotes in one of your favorite movies of the '80s. Like, come on, pick up the pace, pops. Stop smoking all that pot. I love discard. Yes, John. Joanne knows this well.
It's a terrible habit.
John looks at it as keeping the theater cleaners employed by throwing all the trash and basically dumping the rest of his popcorn out all over. No, he doesn't do that. But yes, he does. He leaves his trash. And good for him, because he's keeping them all employed. It gives them something to do. It's good for the brain.
One time they actually were cleaning up, and they actually took John's full soda when he left it, the chair, and went to the bathroom and came back, and it was gone. So
that'll teach you.
Lemon
Oh,
says,
man.
I love stepping into other people's discarded trash and hearing people talking while I watch a movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing them
yeah.
play Angry Birds in front of me or watching TikTok videos, it's my favorite. Actually, I've never had people tell horror stories about movie theaters. And aside from a sticky floor, I've never been in a trash heap. I've never had the phone thing. No, I've never really had that much of a problem with it. It's always been pleasant to me, but I'm also usually quite stoned.
For how many times I've gone to the theater in my life, I'm shocked that I've only had maybe on this hand, maybe 5 bad experiences, and one or two of them were with Josh in the past couple of years, where there's teenage girls in a like PG-13 horror movie that aren't watching the movie. They're in like their pajamas, they're giggling, they're TikToking, their phones are constantly bright, and for some reason they decided to pick seats right next to me and Josh.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I love the theater. I'm a big fan of when the crowd gets into it and cheers, like Avengers, Infinity War, and all that stuff. I love it. John hates it. He shakes his head. He's like, "Shut the fuck up." I don't know if he hates it, but he has a different reaction to it than I do. But yeah. Joanne, have you had a really horrible? Or were we together? No, I don't think we were together during one. I'm not talking about like technically where the sound is bad or something like that. Just some shithead.
I actually, this is not like me, so you know how bad it must have been. I actually had to walk over in the middle of the movie and tell this teenage couple to shut up, because it was like constant conversational talking, like the entire first 20 minutes, and I just like walked over there, and and that takes a lot for me to do something.
I was gonna say, like, you're the last person I would ever think to do that, so it must have been bad.
Yeah, it was like I couldn't even hear. So yeah,
me and Gabe and Josh went with my neighbor in Ladera. My neighbor, really cool guy, to go see Fast 7 or whatever it was called, Furious 7, Fast and Furious 7. And these two fuckers, these teenage boys, like 2 of them, they had a laser pointer, and they were in the 2 seats in front of us. And they were doing it during the trailers, and it was annoying, but I was like, fine, no worries, whatever.
Yeah, just trailers,
and all of a sudden, once the movie starts and the credits start coming up, they're still doing the laser pointer. My neighbor, who we didn't know that well, but really cool guy just to play golf with and stuff, he gets up and he goes right over the seats, his head between the 2 guys, and he goes, "You fucking knock that shit off right now. I'll kick your fucking asses." And then one of the guy he wasn't looking at, he turns and looks at him and goes, "I'm talking to you too, motherfucker." Like aggressive, dude. Like, those 2 guys didn't move the rest of the movie. Like, the laser pointer was off. They didn't move. I thought they were going to leave, but they stayed there. Their faces were probably like this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Oh,
I love you, Phil. I miss you, man. I wouldn't call that a bad experience because he saved the day,
He stopped it, yeah.
He stopped it. But yeah, so box office wise, nothing going on. I guess this weekend is the Wolfman. I think that was going to tank. It's terrible reviews, but it's very good. But we're seeing it tomorrow. I wanted to really quickly just bring up because if you don't have your head in the sand, you know what's going on.
Sorry, man, your sound's a little wonky.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was weird.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, right when you said that, like something happened to my output. Can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Yeah.
now you're good.
Okay. So weird. If you've had your head in the sand and you don't know what's going on in Los Angeles, we were talking about this 1 week ago on this show, and it's still going on. That is insane. And it's not going on in the forest. It's going on in people's homes. And now we're getting to the point where Los Angeles is going to need to rebuild almost its entire infrastructure of residential homes. There's a couple of areas that haven't been hit, like Santa Monica, Culver City, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, shit like that. Rich people. Well, no. Culver City's made up of normal people. But it's so excruciating to watch. I've never used Cinema Gulp's Twitter page to go on fucking rants about anything in anger. I usually just post when we do a show or some funny, weird GIF, but I've been kind of going nuts on on that shit, and I should probably stop because it's not getting any hits and it's not getting any views anyway. But it just frustrates me because it's a city I've spent a lot of time in. I did live in Culver City at one point, and yeah, it's a real bummer what's happening. But we're gonna keep this light, and again, I feel terrible. A friend of ours mother lived in Pacific Palisades. That whole entire area is decimated. But I wanted to just to keep it movie related. I found this article about Hollywood filmmaking continues despite massive wildfires, and there's only a couple of films. Honestly, I thought had wrapped filming. And one of them is Avatar 3, which I guess is still filming. And Avatar 3 mostly shot in LA because it's all soundstage, the whole fucking thing, for obvious reasons. There's no on-location shooting on Pandora because Pandora is not real.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. You remember the people that got super depressed when they found that out? But yeah, 300,000 people evacuated. The death toll keeps going up too. Which is just unacceptable. Watching these pathetic piece of shit mayor and governor laugh and smirk and smile and wiggle their way through these interviews, I just want to reach through the screen and knock their teeth out. But yeah, so I guess, Scotty, technically, yeah, Avatar is Disney, right? Because it's under the Disney umbrella from Fox. Yeah. That's right. So that's right. Okay, so that I guess it's halting but these movies aren't going to be affected because it's going to be a couple of weeks or whatever, and it's probably just like precautionary measures that they're being taken out. So Sony Pictures is in Culver City, far from the fires. Paramount, Netflix are in Hollywood, the neighborhood which is 40 minutes by car from the two biggest fires. Sprawling WB, Warner Brothers, Lost, in the San Fernando Valley have been untouched. See, it's not really affecting Hollywood, but that's right. That's why I wanted to show this article, because the movie that's being halted was the first one they bring up is The Hand That Rocks the Cradle remake, which I had no idea was happening. Only 2 movies from major studios were affected by the fire. Filming was halted on The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a 20th century studio remake of the 1992 thriller. Now, I remember that movie had Rebecca De Mornay and Ernie Hudson as a retarded guy.
Yes. I like that movie.
Oh my god! I hope it doesn't halt that, because I'm going to see that movie.
Me too.
I remember Rebecca De Mornay breastfeeding. She's the nanny, and she's breastfeeding someone else's kid, and she was smoking hot in that movie, by the way. But yeah, brief pause on Avatar 3. So, not really that big of a concern, but bringing up Hollywood is stupid, because think about everything. Like, people have been talking about homes, but no one's really been talking about businesses as much. How many businesses are gone? And now that every insurance company is pulled out of everything. And did you hear Gavin Newsom's giving all the fire victims who've lost their home $771? Thank you. Wow.
Would that even cover a month of
find my
rent?
Dog who disappeared? What's that, Scotty? Sorry.
Would that even cover a month of rent in that area?
No, fuck no. That wouldn't recover a third. That wouldn't be a third of rent.
The article I read today said that was meant to cover items like baby formula and stuff like that. Is like, it's just like an initial thing, and then I guess you can file to get more. But there's a lot I read today that was very sad, like such as like people are asking, do I have to pay my mortgage if my house burned down? And the answer was, you can defer the mortgage for a year. After that, you still owe what you owe.
Yeah, you're screwed.
So I'm just like, well, how does that work? Maybe your insurance plan, if you have a good one, will cover, but then it's like I imagine so many people are going to have to file bankruptcy because they're going to have to pay for another place to live.
Well, and if you didn't know, like one of the big topics of discussion this week has been, what did the insurance companies know or think or predict? Because they cut themselves loose of a lot of those areas months before this happened, to where they're not insuring fires and things. It's like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's just a little strange. Like, but
yeah, they try to get away with not covering anything. Like here in Florida for the hurricanes, if you don't have flood insurance and the damages from a flood, you're not covered. It's a separate insurance plan. The storm, hurricane, and then the flood. It's different policies. It's just really terrible.
Yeah, it's not, and I hate bringing it up on our fun-filled show extravaganza. And thank you everybody for watching. We've got double digits watching right now. I appreciate you all very much. I just it hits home because I'm from here. I'm not from Los Angeles, but it's still my jam. It's still my turf.
Yeah, go ahead.
I worked in LA at USC for many years. So anyway, let's move on. Let's find a. Oh, you know what I want to do? Let's do this. This will put us in the mood. Best on-screen laugh of all time is that, and that's not even a third of how long that goes on for. Money Pit, Tom Hanks, genius.
I remember that movie.
But so Joanne, you had to leave. I wouldn't say early. We just went really long last week, but we never got to your anticipated movies of 2025, which will bleed into our next area of discussion. So, yeah, what were some of yours? Because we all had similar ones, and then we had small ones that people didn't know about. So.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. Interestingly, a lot of them are either sequels or parts of the series and stuff. There's a few that aren't. So I'll start with the ones that aren't. So one was one that came out last week, but I haven't seen it yet. The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
Anyone mentioned that one? I'm not sure, but
I'm looking forward to that. I neglected to mention it, but it looks good. It's got a skinny Batista in it with long hair. That's
right. There's the Batista. But he's skinny now. He didn't.
It's got to be a wig though.
Oh, the hair maybe, but he did get leaner like before this move, like not for this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, I'm all so as you know, Ben, I'm a huge fan of Batista, but I'm also a Pamela Anderson fan. So
who's not?
Yeah. Yeah. There's as far as the original ones, Don't Die, The Man Who Wants to Live Forever. That looked interesting. Companion, that's like a romance thriller.
Yep, I brought that one up. I'm going to see that next week. Yeah.
And Death of a Unicorn. I'm interested in that one. Looks like kind of a wacky and interesting one there. But yeah, honestly, like the rest of them are either considered sequels or something I'm somewhat familiar with in some other way, shape, or form. Or part of a series. So I don't know if you want me to. I can actually save that part for that part of the discussion.
Okay. Yeah, that works. I mean, it'll all get unleashed in one way or another. So yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention two last week because by the time we finally got to those, I was pretty soft. There's a new Paul Thomas Anderson movie coming out later in the year that is not titled yet, or I'm sure it is, but the title's not been released. Anything that Paul Thomas Anderson's doing, I'm interested in. And there's also a new Ari Aster movie coming out that's a Western black comedy, and the cast is insane. I really want to see that. I didn't know about that movie until after we did the show, so but now I'm interested in those as well.
What's that one called?
Oh God, I forgot. I just heard about it the other day, but the only thing that really stuck in here was Ari Aster dark comedy Western.
Yeah.
Max Redstone says there are far too many sequels. Yes, yeah, exactly, and that's why we wanted to do this show. It wasn't really a question of are there or aren't there, even though that's what I made the poll. It's discussing because I have some predictions, and we'll get into those that. sequels are going to become something that people don't want to see anymore, unless, of course, it's something like Top Gun Maverick, which blew everybody's mind on how successful it was. But we'll get into it though, and I'm going to let Scotty, because Scotty has no DVD rundown. I have no turn vinyl spin around, whatever the fuck I call that thing.
I have no my segment.
Yeah. But I'll bring this up, and then so what do you think, Scotty? Because you've had a couple of facial expressions as I made that comment that no, that I think sequels might be starting to get annoying to people. But do you think that that's going to be something that keeps people from seeing? Because curiosity, that's the number one thing about a sequel, is if the characters are good enough, you want to see them in more, right? I think we can all agree that's the number one thing. Is like, I want to see Riggs and Murtaugh again. I don't care what they're doing. I just want to see it again. And then there's the not so much cliffhangers, but the curiosity of, oh, what can they do with the second one? But I don't know. What do you think, Scotty?
I agree with Max that there are far too many sequels. But in the modern era of not really being able to get the word out about in brand new original properties, one of the only ways that you can market a movie is say, remember last time on on Weekend at Bernie's? Well, here's Weekend at Bernie's 2. Like, that's my usual go-to. And for every Godfather 2, you're going to get Short Circuit 2. And I know there are people who like Short Circuit 2. I'm not shitting on Short Circuit 2.
Short Circuit 2 is fine.
No Ali Sheedy, no likey. So anyway,
her voice is in it. Anyway, I actually just recently acquired it, so I shouldn't make too much fun. But I think it is harder to market these movies, and that's why a lot of studios don't take risks on original properties. Yeah. Is because it is easier just to say, okay, here's Joker 2, and that'll work out. The first one made $1 billion, and how could it miss? And it's like, well, I can make it a musical. Yeah, that worked out well, right?
Well, I still haven't seen it. I'm still anticipating seeing it. It'll probably be another blind buy, but it's one of those things where I'm looking forward to it. Even with with Godzilla -1, do we need another Godzilla movie in this franchise? Which I did order on Blu-ray, Joanne. Good. And so, but I do think that those are the easier ones to sort of get out to a wider audience, and those are the ones that are going to be getting more distribution, specifically in theaters. Like, I didn't think we needed a Gladiator 2, and apparently it did okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. But, one thing I witnessed this year, and again, it didn't do gangbusters, but it also cost peanuts to make, was my favorite movie of the year, which was Strange Darling. So much of that marketing was done from the actual actors and director of the movie on things like X and on things like just promoting the shit out of it that way. And then obviously, really good way to get your word out is to give screeners to huge audience YouTube people, obviously, because I heard about that movie from Red Letter Media. They watched it. They put out a video on it. Whenever they do a show called discussing a movie where it's not a half in the bag, that means that they fucking love it. So I watched it and I was like, I have to watch this movie. Like, Mike and Jay are blowing this movie to death. And then once I posted my little review of it on and tagged it, I saw how much Kyle Gallner and all the actors and actresses and filmmakers were kind of just doing promotion that way, and that can go a long way. And you can obviously pay to get that stuff boosted. I've always heard that's kind of like a fraud, or not a fraud. It's kind of like a scam when you put money into Facebook or Twitter posts. But businesses use it, so I guess it's real. But yeah. But you're 100% right. You don't even need to market sequels. All you have to do is give people a little taste, let them know it's out, let them know who's in it, and that's pretty much it.
But I just saw a review, or not a review because I don't know how old the movie is. Hobbs and Shaw, And it was like, okay, so there was tension on set between The Rock and Vin Diesel, so they gave The Rock his own spin-off. And we know who Hobbs and Shaw are because of the Fast and the Furious, and so there is that name appeal. And so you don't really have to work that hard. And they just said it was, yeah, it's a fine action movie. It didn't deserve to make $700 million, but as long as it has the name appeal and The Rock is in it, like even with Jumanji.
Well, that's interesting that you say that because I'm sorry, Jumanji, yeah, but like Hobbs and Shaw was called Hobbs and Shaw, like a Fast and Furious story or something like that, right? Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, so it had the name recognition of Fast and Furious, and then you have something like Furiosa, which is fucking great, a Mad Max saga, and it doesn't from name recognition. Maybe prequel. I think it had a lot to do with prequel stuff. Instead of moving stories forward, it doesn't do that as much. But go ahead about Jumanji, because yeah, those movies crush, right? Those new ones.
Well, yeah, the first two, yeah, they made it. How many are there now? Two of the modern.
I thought there were just two of them all. Yeah.
I've never saw the second one, but the first one was great. It was fun.
And that's star power and the title recognition of Jumanji, even though, like, by all accounts, you could have called it anything else and made me happier and more interested to see it and be like, this has nothing to do with Bonnie Hunt. But that's how you get asses in seats. Even when going as far back as something like Die Hard with a Vengeance. That was going to be an original property until it was adapted into Die Hard with a Vengeance. It was just going to be called Simon Says. But they're like, how do we make this script so that people will see it?
Do you know how many different... that script was a huge blacklist script. You're right. It was originally called Simon Says. They were going to make it a Lethal Weapon 4 before it became a Die Hard 3. Like, everybody wanted that script, and for good reason, because Die Hard with a Vengeance is awesome.
And most of the stuff that I do hear about, like in terms of original properties, they are coming from internet reviewers like your Jeremy Johns and Red Letter Media, Chris Stuckman, no one from England because they're dicks. But yeah, so I find it that it is mostly internet word of mouth, and a lot of the time, the people who tune into to live streams like this, whether they be British or not. They are just sitting there talking about the latest franchises. Like there are a lot of critics that are very critical of the new Snow White, and I don't know if that's because they actually care about princesses and wands, or if it's just because Snow White is a lightning rod for audiences to know what you're talking about instantly.
Read this one from Jill, because I think it's aimed at you, and I agree with you, Jill.
Hey, Jill. Hello, I can't stay, but I gotta say Short Circuit 2 is better than Short Circuit 1, but you can't have the second without the first. You know, when I did apologize and I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I do have it upstairs, but I haven't rewatched it because I have a sour taste in my mouth from watching it the first time. And I saw that John liked it as well. But when I apologized, Jill, that apologize was mentally going out to you, because I know how much you enjoy Short Circuit 2.
Theta Zord, you know what? I would have totally been down for Son-in-Law 2. I mean, I don't really know what the story would be, but Weasel, or whatever his name was, Weasel, and Polly Shore, and what's her name? Carla
Gugino.
God, dude, her so young in that movie. Like,
oh yeah,
that movie is 90s plastered over 90s with 90s primer. I love it. Yeah, I would have loved a Son-in-Law 2. That was by far his best movie, Polly Shore's, in my opinion. Not even close. Because all those
better than Encino Man.
I don't like Encino Man. I think that movie's overrated. But yeah, so right off the bat here, we've got the first one coming out. I guess you would call this a continuation of the franchise, but also a continuation of Captain America movies, even though, I don't know. I'm not going to see this. I have no interest. I saw the trailer.
Oh.
It looks boring.
I love Sam Wilson. I liked Sam Wilson, and I wanted to see the Falcon become Captain America. And so I am one of the few people who is going in here with rose-colored glasses with expectations probably unreasonably higher.
I love Anthony Mackie. I love what Anthony Mackie did with Sam Wilson as Falcon, how he made him a fleshed out character, having only ever been a side character in all these movies. He's literally one of the only fleshed out characters that never got his own movie, but you feel like you know who he is and his character. This movie just doesn't interest me. It just looks stupid, but okay. No, fair enough. I mean, obviously there's going to be people that are going to see it.
Like I saw the Marvels.
Paddington in Peru. Yeah, you did, huh? Paddington in Peru. I hear these movies are great. I've never seen a single one of these Paddington movies.
Isn't Paddington 2 supposed to be like perfect?
Yeah,
that's what
I heard.
People say. Yeah. I mean, as perfect as you can be with a talking bear, I guess. You know.
Yeah, it's supposed to be hilarious. So.
See, this is another movie where I'm like, I don't know how accurate this article is. I haven't seen a production still, a trailer, an interview with Ben Affleck, or anybody saying that The Accountant 2 is coming out, let alone in less than 3 months.
April 25th, yeah.
That is insane, because I really loved the first one. Me and John, that was our first year on the channel, and that was one of the movies we really, really liked right off the bat, you know.
Going into that movie, I had no expectations for it. I thought it was going to be blah, and I watched it, and it was pretty kick-ass. It was like, how do you make accounting interesting? I don't know, but they did it.
An autistic accountant who's also a cleaner, a fixer, and an assassin. It was fucking great. It was so much fun, and it had John Barenthal, who's always great and everything. Thunderbolt, I guess that's a sequel. Yeah, it is, because it's in the franchise. And all these characters have been in something else before. So, right?
Well, yeah, you're right, and I suppose they are sequels. Like every Marvel, every subsequent MCU movie is just building on the franchise. I can accept that perspective.
Yeah, no, it is, and this one I'm slightly interested in, so I'll probably check it out on like a Thursday or something. I just love all the actors. I mean, you look at the roster of actors, and you're like, yeah, I got to see this. There's a lot of good people. Mission Impossible, apparently the final one. Yeah, I'm gonna see that, because the one before it wasn't very good. Karate Kid Legends, yeah, that's a sequel. That's like an Avengers where you have Mr. Chan of Jackie, or Mr. whatever, Jackie Chan and Daniel LaRusso teaming up for some reason. Oh yeah, this looks good. Have you guys seen the trailer for Ballerina?
I don't think I saw the trailer, but she's great. I enjoy her performances, and it's not just because she's a smoke show. It's also because I do think that she's talented.
Very talented, but even more so a smoke show. Yeah. God, I hope the title is From the World of John Wick. Oh, please don't be the title.
Yeah, but I don't think it was when I was looking through
I think it's just Ballerina. Yeah.
I think it's just Ballerina too. Yeah.
But that's the same thing that they did with Furiosa. And this is what they've been subsequently doing with the Knives Out movies. Is like Glass Onion was a Knives Out mystery, and then you've got Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. And Rian Johnson hates doing it, but the studio keeps saying we have to put that on there so that people will know
makes them feel better.
Well, and because then people will know what you're doing, and so Ballerina, people are going to dismiss it and say, I don't want to go see Black Swan 2.
Oh no, it would be cool if you put the John Wick name in there, but if it's called From the World of John Wick Ballerina, that's bad. It should be Ballerina, a John Wick story or something.
A John Wick hit.
Yes, a John Wick shot.
There we go.
A John Wick joint.
There we go.
This is the movie, one of my most anticipated movies of the year, just based on that kick-ass trailer, 28 years later. I haven't seen a trailer that good. I can't even remember when. Maybe Strange Days, because Strange Days is one of the best trailers ever made. Just giving you mood and tone and tension and who's in it, an atmosphere, and not telling you anything about the plot. That was also its demise, too, was not letting anybody know what it was about. But this is part of a franchise, so you know what it's about, for the most part. It's zombies and people fighting them and dying.
Well, no, you just spoiled
it. There are zombies?
Spoilers. It's part 3. Oh, and Joanne's gonna love this one.
Yeah, that's on my
Ooh.
list.
M3 Gan. M3 Gan.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why there's a 3 there. It's a part 2. That's
Yeah,
This is
weird.
a different one too.
Yeah, another movie that had its. This is another one of those sequels where you're like, are they biting off more than they can chew? Are they thinking it's a bigger hit than it was? Because the first one was like a surprise hit, but it didn't do gangbusters. And now the second one is positioned in a June summer blockbuster weekend, and you're like, What do you think, Joe? Are you excited?
I'm definitely excited. I thought the first one was really fun. I mean,
It's hilarious.
Horror is one of my things, and then like that was kind of like combined with a little comedy. I'm definitely excited about that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I put it on my list last week too, but
It's not my
this
list.
this one just came out of nowhere. Did you guys even know this was being made?
Yeah.
World,
Sorry.
dude. I don't know. Anybody
There
interested
was-
in this?
Well, from what I understand, this is like rejected ideas going as far back as Jurassic Park 3, where there was supposed to be some sort of human dinosaur hybrid, and that is going to be incorporated here because we're not going to get Chris Pratt or Bryce Dallas Howard again. I think it's Scarlett Johansson is in this one. I forget who else.
Yeah.
And
that's
it's
awesome.
like,
That's awesome.
well, but this is also like when Marky Mark jumps into the Transformers movies. It's like you're just keeping the franchise alive. There is no plan. There is no story. It's just like CGI dinosaurs. And I hate to say it, but I think the world is over CGI dinosaurs, unless they're named Godzilla, which technically isn't a dinosaur.
Right.
You are 100% right. I haven't had interest. Jurassic World, I was like, oh, cool. It's like the first movie, only like with a fully realized park. We always wanted to see that, so it kind of worked on that level. But just like Jurassic Park 1 in 1993, it should have stopped there because it told the story. What do you do next? And then those other two were just pathetic cash grabs, So I don't expect this to be any different, to be honest with you.
No.
I do like Scarlett Johansson, but whatever.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it's going to be the
Yeah,
dinosaur.
Yeah.
Maybe if she's Black Widow fighting dinosaurs, that'd be cool.
There we go. What is it? The Savage Land from X-Men? That would be cool.
Yeah. And here we go. Superman, obviously not a direct sequel, but it counts. It's another Superman.
Still part of the DC universe.
Yeah. Fantastic Four. Yeah, same thing. Naked Gun is a remake. It's not a sequel. I'll give it that. It's complete. It's a total remake. I'm very curious about that movie. Very
Me too.
curious with Liam Neeson. Freakier Friday. Never saw the first one, but I guess people love it.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny with the same. It looks like same people. Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan did the first one. Looks like they're going to do the second one.
All right.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked it. I liked that. It was fun.
Nobody
And
too.
I like Nobody also.
Nobody was fun. I don't think it needs a sequel, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah, but that's also. I never saw Nobody 1. I have been watching Better Call Saul, so I like David Odenkirk a lot. David Odenkirk? Bob Odenkirk.
Bob, yeah.
Bob and David. Bob Odenkirk.
He's
David.
awesome.
Yeah, cross. Anyway, and so I'm up for it, but it also kind of because I got a lot of John Wick vibes out of Nobody the First, like the trailer from it, and so if they made a sequel to John Wick, then they can make a sequel to Nobody.
No, I mean you're right, except it's Bob Odenkirk instead of Keanu Reeves, so there's kind of a comedy fact. I mean, it's not a comedy, but it's goofy watching him kind of do his John Wick thing. But it was a fun movie for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's playing Frank Drebin. He's playing Frank Drebin Jr. That's right. I did hear that. So yeah, it is a sequel. Can you read that one?
But that's kind of like saying that like the Dan Aykroyd Dragnet movie was a sequel to the original show because he was technically.
You know what? You're right. Joe Friday. He was his son.
Like the nephew or the son of Jack Webb. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if you want to put it there. It also it's Naked Gun, so I'm already going into it not thinking that to take too much of it seriously. But I understand what you're saying. But I don't think that there's a Naked Gun cinematic universe, is what I'm saying.
There should
Jill
be,
says,
though.
at some point, everyone ends up agreeing that breeding or genetically modifying dinosaurs was a bad idea, and yet they keep going back to the island.
Addiction.
Well, don't you know, velociraptors are much better to drop into combat than actual weapons and tanks. You know, it
Yeah.
makes so much sense to let a bunch of animals that don't know who they're supposed to kill run around and get shot by machine guns. You know?
Yeah. Didn't you
Yeah.
see, like, that's what they should do for, like, an Aliens movie, is try, and I think it was in one of the comics, is they try and weaponize the xenomorph. That would be cool. At least that would be kind of understandable, because there would be sort of a fight as to, you can't control these animals, not that these are living beings and they deserve to be respected. It's like, no, these are murderous monsters.
Yeah, I think it was always supposed to be implied that, like, that the company was trying to weaponize the xenomorph. I mean, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But
Bioweapons division. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Tron Ares. I'm really looking forward to this, even though I've seen really nothing about it. But it looks
well.
interesting.
Tron Legacy was one of my favorite movie going experiences of the 2010s. So, or whenever it came out. It came out like what, 2010,
It was
2011?
2010. Yeah, 2010.
Yeah. So I love that movie. I'll see it.
I regret not seeing it in the theater because when I watched it on DVD or Blu-ray or something like that, I liked it. I mean, it was beautiful, and I mean that Daft Punk score may go down as one of the best scores ever made. But I wish I would have seen it in the theater because I know it was made to be an immersive sort of 3D experience at the height of all that stuff. But yeah, I just never got to see it. I don't know why. I don't know what happened there. Let's see. Lemon Pie says NGCU Naked Gun. Yes, do it. You could put Emilio Estevez and Samuel L. Jackson from Loaded Weapon in there. I love it. Sounds like Max is a shareholder. Oh, Wayland Yutani, did nothing wrong. Well, I mean, I don't know. If I worked there, I would convince myself that we did nothing wrong. Predator Badlands. Scotty and I are going to start prepping for a full Predator series retrospective in chronological order, so that should be fun. But Badlands, I don't think we know anything about it. I guess it takes place in the future. I think.
Is it? Do you know if it's directed by Dan Trachtenberg? Same
it is.
Guy. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, no, that was a big. Yeah, see, Prey. Yeah, director Dan Trachtenberg returns. Another secretly shot Predator movie, and I guess there's no real like production photos because so much of it is shot like indoors. As I say that, here's a behind the scenes production photo. Running Man is a remake. Come on, I don't count that. That's a remake, but I'll see it. It's directed by Edgar Wright, dude.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Anything that
Wicked,
Edgar Wright does.
I guess Wicked is the second half of Wicked.
Yeah,
so
you have to. When I went to the theater, I didn't know I was in for like a multiple, experience thing. I thought I was just going. And then they leave you hanging. I'm like, oh man.
If you've ever seen the play live, which I have, the whole thing's wrapped up in 2 hours or 2.5.
That's what I was expecting. I thought it was like a movie version of the play that I hadn't seen, but I just thought it was going to be like a one and done. But it was so good, so I'm not upset.
I've heard it's hi baby. I've heard it's great. I have not seen it yet, but Zootopia 2. Oh, Mark is going to be stoked on this. That was Mark's favorite movie since we started Cinema Gold. He loves Zootopia.
Wow.
Is he a furry?
I put this movie on, to be honest with you. I don't know. I think I don't remember if I streamed it or whatever, but I couldn't get through 20 minutes of it.
Oh, really?
Too many
what was wrong with it?
I don't know. It just wasn't. I wasn't vibing with it. It was just.
Too
'Cause
cute.
I think it's just me because like everybody loves that movie. I
Yeah.
think maybe it was my mood or something. I was just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Too many talking animals for today.
You do have to be in the right mood. I tried to watch. I watched the first half of Hundreds of Beavers last night, and
I
I,
still got to see that.
I'll finish it later. I'm like, this
That's
doesn't
like an
even.
event movie. That's when you go with 5 or 6 friends,
Yes.
you have some beers, and then you go watch Hundreds of Beavers. You don't sit
Exactly.
down with your dinner in your living room and turn on Hundreds of Beavers.
Exactly. I thought the same thing after getting like an hour through.
So yeah, I guess Avatar 3 coming out December 19th, same release date as it'll be 3 years from the second one. It'll probably make $2 billion, and then the next day everybody will forget what it was about.
Yeah.
So, anybody have any other ones? Those are pretty much, I think, the big ones.
Yeah,
leading up all
I
the way
got.
to the-
Yeah,
You got-
so like most of
What
my
other ones?
5 list is sequels or remakes. So some that you mentioned: Zootopia 2, Running Man, Megan, Black Phone 2. I really like that.
right. I don't know how they're going to pull that off because Ethan
Yeah.
Hawke is in it, but we'll have to see.
I know. I'm very interested. I like Ethan Hawke. I like the story. It's totally my type of movie, kind of like a horror thriller type of thing. So that's definitely on my list. Passion of the Christ Resurrection. That is a sequel.
I just saw that. Yeah.
In 2025?
Like I just saw that it was being released.
It
Yeah.
can't be released. Mel Gibson? Because he has a movie coming out in 2 weeks.
It's 2025 it was coming out, so I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I've got a release date on it too. Yeah. April
I
18th.
heard the first one left on a big cliffhanger, so I'm glad. I'm glad it's finally getting its follow up.
I can't
What will
imagine
happen
what
to our savior?
with the resurrection subtitle there.
What was? Do you remember what the stinger was after the post credit stinger? What happened?
Mostly in his hands and feet. That stung.
Final Destination, Bloodlines. I really like the Final Destination movies. I don't know about you guys.
A lot of people like them. I've only ever seen the first one, and I've
Okay.
seen the freeway scene in the second one because it's like super famous for how fun it is of carnage, and that scene is pretty fun.
Yeah, so I thought that that's on my list. I'm looking forward to that. This is not a sequel, but something just I'm familiar with. There's a Michael Jackson movie coming out, so it's kind of a side note, but the way it ties into this topic is that not only was it on my list to see in 2025, but I think the thing about sequels is people like whatever is familiar already. They don't have to get to know it. So like I already know some stuff about Michael Jackson. I want to know more. I'm going to see this movie. Same with there's Frankenstein movie and the Bride of Frankenstein movie coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in those. And Wolfman also. Interested in seeing that one. That covers the rest of my list. But yeah, I just wanted to make the point that interestingly enough, like the majority of my list is either sequels or stuff that I was somewhat familiar with.
Sure. Yeah. Again, like we said, like remakes or reboots or this or that. Yeah.
Yes, I saw that was on the list too. Definitely.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. I'm hoping it's just a comedy version of that movie where John Voight gets spit out of an anaconda.
Definitely want to see that too.
Hey, Scotty, can you hold the fort for 2 seconds? I shall return.
Sure.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right. Thetazord in the chat says, I got a friend to give me access to their Disney Plus and Paramount Plus accounts. So this year I'm going to be keeping up with as many movies as possible. Yeah, hey, that's not a bad New Year's resolution. I should actually be going to the theater more and seeing more new stuff because this past year I've really enjoyed looking back into cinema history. But yeah, I should be keeping up with some of the newer stuff. Also, so I know what I'm talking about on Wednesdays.
Maybe you should also make it a resolution to do what he's doing, but with Netflix.
Oh yeah, no, I should get one of those streaming services. Yes.
Just use your friends like he's doing.
Well, yeah, I should. I should try. I should finagle something out of it. Theta Zord says, any thoughts on Tron Ares? Well, and I haven't seen a trailer from it. I haven't seen anything about it, but I love Tron Legacy. I enjoyed the first Tron in a nostalgic way. I'm going to go check it out. I'm curious to see if it'll be in 3D. It probably will be. I don't know to the same extent as Legacy was, but I like the Tron world. So I will take a look. I will check it out. Absolutely.
3D. I haven't seen a 3D movie in a while.
Well, that was when I went to go see Marvels. I walked in, sat down, and then it was like, put on your 3D glasses now. And me and three other dads, like I wasn't a dad, but two other dads were like, hey, stay here. And they were like, did you know it was 3D? I didn't know it was 3D. We didn't get glasses. So, yeah, it's always a surprise. But, yeah, absolutely. I hope it'll be in 3D, so I'm excited for it. Yeah, Theta Zord, I'm looking forward to it as well. I can't believe that they're making a Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Speaking of sequels, one of the biggest failures in sequel history is Now You See Me 2 not being called Now You Don't, but November 14th is going to be called Now You See Me 3.
Yeah.
And apparently, and I just found out about this recently, is that the reason they didn't call it Now You Don't is because it tested poorly and people don't like movie titles with the word don't in it.
No.
That's what I heard.
Don't see that. They might have thought it said "Don't see this."
Well, that's I ran with that.
They wouldn't go see it because it don't see this. Okay, I won't.
That's one of those few movies where I will watch the YouTube reviewers of it as opposed to having any interest of seeing the film itself. Did you guys see Now You See Me or Now You Don't?
I saw the first one.
Yeah, I saw the first one, not the second one. All right, yeah, they should have done the third one. Now You See Me Again, though.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's Fingers or whatever just came out.
That's a different movie. Freddy got
I feel like that just came out. Man, that's a quick turnaround.
Oh yeah, look,
I thought that
horror
movie was
movies
awesome.
are cheap. One a year. Look at when was Megan? Megan was last January.
No, that
wasn't
was
it?
22.
Oh
So
wow, okay.
It'll be 3 years. Yeah.
crazy.
Time
It was like last year, but
I always know what it
Downtown
was.
Abbey.
Joanne, that was the last movie. One of the last movies we saw together before you moved.
yeah,
So I always remember when
it
it was.
won't be the last. It won't be the last.
So yeah, Downton Abbey 2 or 3. Sorry, Downton Abbey 3.
Jesus. Wow.
Yep.
Wow,
We need to know what's
really?
happening with these maids and butlers.
Good.
like some tea?
Yeah. I hope that Tron Ares is, first and foremost, I hope it's good. But I also hope that if it is good, it sticks and like it actually, because I think Tron Legacy for some reason just didn't capture the zeitgeist. Like it was supposed to be like a planned franchise, and it just didn't end up happening for whatever reason. Which is funny if you think about it, because the director of that, Joe Kosinski, that's a legacy sequel that he did. And then what's the other legacy sequel that he did that made almost $2 billion? Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know. I think
But-
maybe
I think Tron Legacy sort of had the same impact as like Blade Runner 2049. Everyone said that this is 30 years too late, but hopefully with the nostalgia and the built-in fan base, we can get people in the theaters. No one went to go see it, but it still is well regarded.
Yeah. No, and I don't know who said they didn't like it. I liked it a lot.
Sean Legacy? I know that guy.
Yeah. All I said was I regret that I didn't see it in the theater. No, I liked it a lot. It just for some reason it didn't catch on like they wanted it to. The Jeff Bridges de-aging thing aside, which isn't that bad,
No.
But, do you guys want to move on to main topic, or do we have any more we want to talk about coming out this year?
I don't have anything. I just have to go. Step away for 2 seconds, and then I'll be right back.
Cool. Yeah, this is an open topic, so we'll just do our thing. You know what? In the meantime, did we miss any chats? Five Fingers Got Freddied. So, has a huge following and a lower base. That is anxious for new movies and lore. Okay, yeah. I mean, I saw the first one. I didn't like it. I didn't like it very much, but I don't know a fucking thing about the game. So
I didn't see it, but I heard that it was very that it was like Blum's favorite, most successful.
It made a lot of money. It made a shit ton of money. Yeah, it definitely did. Hey, John, if you're still in the chat, let me know if you're gonna make it on or not. Because we're probably gonna get to main topics and not spend a shitload of time on it. But if you want to get in on sequels that you wish happened, or you thought were gonna happen, let me know. I think we got all of these. What about Thank You for Not Smoking?
Thank You for Smoking was good.
That was a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that was a Jason Reitman movie. It was really funny. Aaron Eckhart was brilliant in that movie. He was
I remember
so funny.
Yeah. The chocolate ice cream argument in there was hilarious.
I just love Mommy says cigarettes will kill you. Oh, really? Is your mommy a doctor? What about A Scanner Darkly? Dude, I'd be down for that. Scanner Darkly, Waking Life. I love all those rotoscoped Linklater movies. They're beautiful. And Waking Life was one of my favorite movies of that year because I lucid dream quite often, and it's all about a lucid dreaming. So very cool movie. But Joanne, do you want to kick us off with a sequel to a movie that you don't even have to have liked it, but just something that was on track that any person would have thought there would have been a sequel to, or one that you just wanted?
Yeah, well, you know the story behind this one, the Sideways.
Well, yes, I do. Yeah.
I would have definitely watched that. And I read most of the Vertical book, and it would have been cool. I don't know if maybe looking back, it's like sometimes maybe it's for the best. Sometimes maybe it's for the best that there's no sequel.
I agree with you, and I think you wanted it as bad as I did because you love Miles and Jack, and you want to see more of them. If you personally, I liked reading Vertical, but I think it's for the best, like you said, because that movie or the Vertical kind of turns both their characters into total fucking creeps.
Yeah,
more so than Rex Pickett's books. They're depicted much sleazier. Alexander Payne made them sweeter. He added more heart and stuff like that, so you didn't hate these characters.
Yeah.
Vertical, it's hard to avoid because because Miles is now like rich and famous and a total dick, and Jack has gotten like overweight and he's an alcoholic, and it's like I think it's better left. Plus, there's a third book, Chili, which caps out the. I think Sideways is a perfect bottle movie, No
pun intended.
I didn't even try. You know what? That deserves something. Let's see. What does that deserve?
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
I hit the wrong one.
Do the one you were trying to do.
I was just going to do it.
Nice.
But yes, Scotty, you might want to get perfect timing because Joanne's first was, I'm not sure. Well, no, I know but she brought up Sideways because there are two follow-up books. So we were just talking about, as we love Miles and Jack so much, it would have been great to see Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church reprise their roles, but it almost worked out for the better because the follow-up book does kind of turn them into insufferable assholes, so yeah. But what do you think? Because you as someone that saw Sideways for the first time a few months ago,
I loved their performances. I like the characters. It's interesting, but it's also I could see it because remember when they made those, like the trip, and then the trip to Spain and the trip to Italy with Steve Coogan and the other guy, and they're British, and they were television shows, but they were shortened down into movies. Those were good, just following those two characters, focusing on one and then focusing on the other for the second one. I think there was a third one, but yeah, like I do like following the characters that kicked ass in the first one. But again, sometimes you get that, and then it's like, oh, you can't get lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah.
That's going to be like the theme of what I say about all of these is like, oh, this would be so good to make a sequel of this, except you may shit the bed.
Yeah. Well, the main, you know, I allude to it in my Sideways retrospective because I don't like to get into people's personal affairs specifically on this channel. That's none of my fucking business. But I do, in my research, kind of found out that there were some rights issues to making another Sideways movie based on the character of Stephanie and the divorce that happened between Sandra Oh and Alexander Payne, that she somehow figured out a way to finagle the rights to her character, even though her character is not in the second book. She's mentioned, and there's some kind of clause in there that, but again, like Joanne said, I agree. I think it's probably for the best because you can read those books and visualize those two guys in it if you want. You know, the second book is fucking hilarious. There's some crazy shit that happens in it, but it does turn Miles into a complete asshole. You know,
it does. I mean, it would have been interesting if you know. If they did make it into a movie and, like you said, maybe made it a little sweeter. I just would have been interested to see what he would have done with it.
Yeah, well, Payne would have definitely softened those edges the way he did in Sideways, where he didn't make them as bad. But again, some of it would have been unavoidable just based on the plot, you know. But
for sure. But you know, sometimes you know, a lot of movies have likable, lovable assholes. So
absolutely. Well, no, and those two guys are kind of that in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, they're not perfect, you know,
Right.
not at all. Like Jack is a complete asshole, like on his outlook on women and relationships and stuff like that. But you just love him because you love Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah.
It's impossible to hate Thomas Hayden Church. Scotty, you want to go next? Just throw out a one or two or whatever. Just
Well, and this is strictly because. This is strictly because the movie is called Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, but we needed, and it's never going to happen now, Fred Ward is too old, we can't recast, you'd have to make The Adventure Begins again, but I always, this is the best movie the title is sequel bait, and they never made a sequel. It has Kate Mulgrew, Fred Ward, Wilford Brimley of all people. A cop becomes like a Zen kung fu master. It is just crying out. It's like an American James Bond kind of thing, and it's tongue in cheek B movie schlock that they had high hopes for. Same with like Buckaroo Banzai versus the World Crime League. That would have been great, but unfortunately, no one understood what the hell Buckaroo Banzai was, and they didn't like it because they didn't get it. I love it because I don't know why there's a watermelon there. And so that would have been great. But those kind of like B movies under the radar from the 80s, Remo Williams, The Adventure Continues, demands to be made at some point.
I always thought that Buckaroo Banzai's title was sort of like ironic, you know, like it wasn't necessarily intended to have a franchise. It's just, it goes with the movie so well, you know, like the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. Like Remo Williams, I'm crossing that off my list because I had it too.
Oh, you had Remo? Nice.
Of course. You and I talk about that movie often. I love it to death. It's so inventive and creative of a movie. And as much as I love Fred Ward, I just think if they had got somebody a little more movie starish, it might have taken off. Don't get me wrong, Fred Ward was the man, and yes, you're right. Fred Ward dies. Yeah, Fred Ward died in 2022.
Yes. So I guess we would recast, but he got plastic surgery in the first one, so he could get plastic surgery again.
Chris Pratt. I'm kidding, because people just say Chris Pratt for fucking everything these days.
John Hamm?
John Hamm. Yeah. Or how about Michael Cera? There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Remo Williams, man. I love that movie. Yeah, they should have been able to figure out a way to market it better or something. Because even the not the poster that you, or not the DVD. Can you hold that up again?
Yeah.
Do you remember the original cover of him like hanging on like the Statue of Liberty?
It's kind of like this.
That was such a great like poster for the movie.
It was. It was.
Why'd they put it on the back and just put a picture of him? I'm gonna go with something from 2003. Not only did I surprisingly really enjoy this movie, but it financially did well. It had all the up and coming actors of the time. It seemed like a recipe for success for a sequel. Lent itself to one perfectly, and that was a movie called SWAT. With Colin Farrell and Michelle Rodriguez and Samuel Jackson and Josh Charles. It did really well. It was really inventive, even though it was technically a remake of the TV show, but only by name pretty much. But it was a really inventive story, the way in the middle of its second act, it becomes just a lengthy third act of just this long chase through Los Angeles that I thought was really creative and cool. LL Cool J was in it,
Yeah.
But I just thought that movie, I have no idea why it didn't get a sequel. It made like hundreds of millions of dollars in the summer of 2003, had all the young up and coming hot bodies, and then it was never heard from again. And I haven't really met people that don't like it because it should have been some kind of cheesy, stupid movie, but it was actually really good action and fun movie. But yeah, so I have SWAT from 2003.
Good.
What about you, Joe? What are some of your others? Let's give a couple at a time. It's fine.
Yeah. So another one I thought would have been cool was The Professional. I think that would have been a fun sequel.
Spoilers.
Follow Matilda?
Yeah, doesn't he dies, right?
Well, but yeah, I was thinking of following Matilda and seeing what
that
she
would
did.
that would have been badass.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just an interesting idea. I actually had trouble like thinking of movies I want to see sequels to, just because of the problem that we talked about. Like, would you just kind of ruin it? Like, I was thinking of what are my favorite movies? Memento's my favorite movie. Office Space is another favorite movie. Like, maybe I think if Mike Judge did another Office Space, I'm sure I would laugh my ass off. So I kept Office Space on my list there. And What We Do in the Shadows, I know they made the
TV show,
series, which is also hilarious. But there are different characters. If you watch the movie and watch the series, they're different characters and people playing them and stuff. So maybe another one of those would have been funny. I think with comedies, if they do a good job at making you laugh in the sequel, then it's done its job. So
yeah, it's comedies, if you just keep it simple. Like the problem with like The Hangover was the second movie made a mistake by being the exact same movie as the first, only crude and dark and off-putting. And then the third one was just not a comedy at all. And then, but you think of something like Harold and Kumar got 3 movies out of that. All because there's just no plots to any of them. And there doesn't need to be, because there's chemistry, there's funny writing, there's funny characters. And you can follow those guys forever. They cost nothing to make, Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Well, and I guess next on my list is just a trilogy of Shane Black movies that deserve to have sequels that never will. Obviously, this is on Russell Crowe's list of sequels that he'd like to do. Is The Nice Guys. I would love to see a Nice Guys sequel of these guys paired up and solving another crime. Same deal with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Unfortunately, that won't happen with Val. But that would have been great if it had been a little bit more. I know it was sort of a sleeper hit and definitely helped in reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s career. But following those two guys as consulting detectives, that would have been good. And also, I have a soft spot for The Last Boy Scout. It would have been cool to see those guys kick around Los Angeles and take down corrupt politicians. How apropos. But though I think that anything that the Shane Black buddy comedies would make excellent. They would have great sequels, or they'd be Jaws 2. Like Long Kiss Goodnight. Let's get that. Let's get part 2. The Longer Kiss Goodnight. Like those, anything that Shane Black did, that was great.
Last Boy Scout was pretty much setting itself up for a sequel when you hear like the conversation that the two of them have as they're walking down before Moody River, before that comes on. He's just like, yeah, we'll make you a private investigator yet. And he's like, you got to hit a guy with the surfboard. Surf's up, pal. So it almost was setting it up. But yeah, that was a good one. I didn't even think of Last Boy Scout. Yeah, that would have been interesting. That was a fun movie. Really ludicrous and ridiculous, but very fun.
Oh, yeah. Apparently it was hell to make, but whatever.
Well, yeah, Bruce Willis.
Actually, Damon Wayans, too.
Oh, yeah, he's a prima donna. Holy shit, I've heard horror stories about that dude. I'm going all the way back to 1991. Another one where I know there's a story behind it. I want to say there's even like a short docu-piece on it, why they didn't get a sequel, but The Rocketeer. Joe Johnston's The Rocketeer, prime for a sequel, would have done. I mean, it was pretty much just Indiana Jones in like a superhero format, fighting Nazis and Timothy Dalton. What was that? Sean? No, who's it wasn't. I always want to say Sean Patrick Flannery, but no, the guy
it's
played
William Campbell. William
yes,
O. Campbell.
William Campbell. Yes. And Jennifer Connelly's breasts. It was a great movie. It was a really fun movie. Surprise that didn't happen. I know the first one did not do very well. Maybe that's why. I don't know what the budget was or what its box office was, but I would have been interested in a Rocketeer 2, continue the adventures of the. I know they made a Cocketeer porno movie.
That should count.
That maybe it does. Maybe it continues the adventures in a different way. John in the chat says, Kill Bill 3, E.T. Dude, Nocturnal Fears sounds so fucked up. If you've ever read like the synopsis of that movie, E.T. 2, District 10, Independence Day 2. Oh shit, we sadly got that. Yeah, that was the worst movie of 2016 by a fucking miracle mile.
My dad likes that movie. Well.
Long Kiss Good Morning, it could have been called. Or Long Kiss Good Afternoon.
Long Kiss for Brunch.
All right, well, what else you guys got?
Oh, fuck. This is number one with a bullet. I want this. They were talking about doing it for so long. The producer was touting it and saying that they were trying. And eventually it just, it went by the wayside. They were talking about doing a TV show, and I haven't heard anything about that in like a year. But, like Mega City Stories or something like that. But again, sort of speaking of Tron Legacy and how that was such an impactful 3D movie-going experience. But Dread 2, in the 3D in Dread 1 is incredible. But Carl Urban as Joe Dredd, or I don't even know if his name is Joe. I just remember the Stallone one. His name was Joe. But, I love that movie, that world, and the hard R action. It was so amazing, and that's one that I sort of had hope against hope that they would make it, and I followed production or pre-production and the negotiation to try and get it off the ground. Never happened, and I don't think it ever will, but if it does, that'll be my new Confess Fletch. It's like they're actually making Dread 2. So, I adore that.
A great villain, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. She was so good.
Yeah, she was so good. Scary.
And then in terms, I should have brought this up when you were talking about SWAT, it being a television show adaptation. But I think I was one of the 14 people who went and saw the A-Team, and with Liam Neeson. I love the A-Team, and I wish they had kept going with that. I loved it.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Maybe the second one would have been better. Yeah, we'll say that.
Fucking love the first one. Love it.
You know, where I want to see where on the list do I want to go? The Rundown from 2003. The ending kind of sets up one. I thought The Rock and Stifler had really good chemistry. It was a very fun movie. Peter Berg, the director, just did so many inventive things with the action and the shot selections and the editing. And the script was really sharp and tight, and it was a short movie. I would have loved to have seen another movie with those two. That was like The Rock's first official I'm an action star now. They even have the cameo with with Schwarzenegger who comes through and goes, have fun. That would have been pretty cool, but we never got it. And I know it was a moderate hit, but it wasn't a huge hit, so maybe that had something to do with it. And Christopher Walken steals that movie, man. Just I feel like a little boy who has lost his first tooth. Do you understand the concept of the Tooth Fairy? That's a terrible Christopher Walken.
Your Arnold's good though.
Hey, Black Phillip. A-Team was a fun movie. It was. I think the funniest thing I've ever sat in a movie theater and watched was when they're flying a tank and they're using its the gun, whatever you call it, the tank gun, to soften the fall or whatever.
It's
so bad, but you know what? They were just going bonkers with it, and I give them credit for that. They're just because you would never see that on the show. The show was just a bunch of people shooting machine guns at each other and not hitting anything.
Exactly. Yeah. It was kind of like G.I. Joe that way.
Yeah. Plane blows up, and you immediately see the parachute come out instantaneously.
And
Bubba
John,
Nosferatu. That was
Bubba
supposed to be
Nosferatu.
made. Yeah, that was supposed to be made. Black Phillip's favorite movie, Bubba Hotep, was supposed to have a sequel.
That was a good movie.
What else?
I'm working with sand here.
Yeah, that was my whole list. But as we're talking, I'm thinking also besides comedies, I think any monster movie would be cool. If you make another Jaws, I'll go see it anytime. You can make 20 million Jaws movies. I'll see them. Any, killer alligators or whatnot. I'll see any of that.
Well, what was it? Apparently, it's a. Oh yeah, Lake Placid. There is a Lake Placid too.
There is. I think it was straight to DVD, but
yeah, no Betty White. Not watching. But and then again, another television adaptation is the Henry Cavill, Armie Hammer, Alicia Vikander, Man from U.N.C.L.E. flick. I loved that, and I was hoping for more of those. But again, it was something that nobody saw, and it's also one of the. I think it's so hilarious. And I was listening to a guy, and he's like, whenever you hear somebody say that James Bond should go back to the '60s and that would reinvigorate the series. No one remembers that they did that with the Man from U.N.C.L.E. and no one cared. No one cared that it was a period action espionage. And what makes you think that would reinvigorate Bond?
Yeah, you can't do that because if you look at The Kingsman set in modern day, did really extraordinarily well for a Matthew Vaughn movie. And then they did King's Man, which was set in World War I or something, and it made nothing. Granted, it came out in the COVID era, but it was so forgotten so fast. Yeah, I'm sorry. You don't go back in time. You don't go to the 60s. I get what people are saying because that way you could make him a womanizer and a cigarette smoker again. But they wouldn't do that because it's not about the time period. It's about the time it's made in. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, and another good point has been made is that if you want to see a James Bond movie from the '60s, go watch a James Bond movie that was made in the '60s. We have them.
Exactly. I don't think James Bond has smoked since Roger Moore. I don't think Timothy Dalton smoked.
Timothy Dalton, and at the end of License to Kill, there's actually a Surgeon General's warning.
So he did smoke, though? I don't remember him smoke. Okay.
Yep, he smoked in License to Kill, and then at Brosnan never smoked.
No, it was over by that point. Yeah. But did he smoke in License to Drive, though? That's what I want.
Yes, twice. Uncle Phil.
Oh, you like that poll, did you?
I did like that pull. I did like that pull a lot.
The cup is empty. Who's up? Scotty?
Well, I'm trying to think of some other
Joanne
ones.
pretty much was very specific when she said, any monster movie.
Yeah.
Because I had said my list already, but that
I
was
think
just
a Jaws movie would crush because people would be so curious.
yes.
If there was a trailer that blew your mind, didn't show the shark, and then all these rumors came out that it was practically shot and they didn't use a bunch of CGI and they went back to base, I think people would be very interested. If you played a trailer that had a rock song and a CGI shark all over the trailer, nobody would go see it.
Go watch Deep Blue Sea.
Go watch Deep Blue Sea.
Hey, LDG, good to see you, man.
Hi.
Hey, buddy, good to see you. Thanks for
Dylan.
being here. Oh, Elvirus.
Thank you.
Elvirus.
Cheers.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, and also, I'm sure it's in production, or at least they've been talking about it because it is the cash cow that they refuse to kill. But there's got to be a Simpsons the movie too.
Yeah, how come wasn't that movie like 15 years ago?
Yeah.
How come they never? And it did a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so did the South Park movie, and they never made another one of those.
No, but that's also. Hey, I would go with a Team America too. But the problem with that is that the South Park guys, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, they're like, no, not in a million years would we ever put ourselves through that again.
Yeah, it was one of the hardest movies to ever make. Yeah. You think it's hard to make a movie in motion capture? Try doing an entire movie with puppets and explosions. Yeah, that's no bullshit.
Christmas was another difficult one, time-consuming one.
But that's also like what it's kind of like. I'd love to see a Shaun of the Dead too, but then you do get Hot Fuzz and The World's End, and so they are kind of like spiritual sequels, part of the Cornetto trilogy, and you have the same casts, and so while not direct sequels, they feel like they're it's kind of like when they had Super Troopers and then they made Beer Fest, and they did make a Super Troopers 2 though. I never saw it.
I didn't either. Super Troopers 1 is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But these are like, most of the time, it's movies that I think underperformed that are the ones that I want the sequels to, and it's the big blowout hits, as John said. It's like Independence Day 2, and it's like, yeah, Independence Day 2 could have been good, but I think that they just sort of fell apart once Will Smith said, I don't want to.
Maybe, yeah. I think it was too late too. I think it should have came out in the mid 2000s. I think people would have been more, because the mid 2000s it's that teetering point where you're leaving the late 90s and you're feeling the differences, but the sensibilities are still kind of the same. Just some of the fashions changing and stuff. 2016, it just wasn't going to work, especially for how big they wanted to go and how stupid they wanted to go with it. They couldn't get away with the schlock like they did in 96. Because you go back and watch Independence Day, it's a fucking joke. There's no like serious stakes. It's all played for laughs, but people ate that shit up. The trailer was dead serious, but the movie was not. But speaking of movies that underperformed, for me, top of my list is Hellboy 3 with Ron Perlman,
Oh yeah.
directed by Guillermo del Toro. Because neither one of those movies bombed. They just didn't make money. They didn't lose money, but they didn't make money. And Guillermo wanted like an obscene amount of money to make a part 3 and close out his trilogy. And from what I've read about what the third one was going to be, it was ballsy. It was really ballsy because you love Ron Perlman's Hellboy. He's one of the best comic book characters ever put to screen. Like, he's so lovable. He's so funny. Like, everything about Hellboy is just you love that character. And the third one, they were going to have him fulfill his destiny and try to end the world and become the bad guy at the end. And you're like, whoa, like I would have fucking died. I would have loved to have seen Hellboy 3. But
Yeah.
it didn't happen.
Well, and that's kind of like and I know I brought this up before, and it's kind of ridiculous because anybody who walked out of Infinity War thinking that it was like, well, that what they died, they all lost, and it's like, yeah, we all know the next one's coming out next year. Calm down, Mabel.
There's already Spider-Man trailers out.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but that would have been an absolute, like, that would have mind blown. It's like, oh, our hero actually has been grooming to be the villain the entire time. And so that would have been super interesting and a dark way to end a story about a demon ultimately. So
yeah,
that would have been great. And people would have never gone to see that one. And it would have been heralded as being a masterpiece approximately, 15 years later.
Have a good one, Theozord. Thanks for being here, brother.
Cheers, Theozord.
Man, I didn't know you're writing all these comments off your phone. Thanks for all the effort. You've been a rock star tonight. Thanks for so much engagement.
Yeah, thanks, man. Good to see you. Oh, and before you go, we do need a Boondock Saints 3. From what I understand, we're getting one.
We're getting one, but not by the original director, though. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, but
I thought it was his passion project. I thought it was.
It was, but he sold the. I watched a recent interview that he did where he talked about he got the merchandise royalties, but he had to sell the rights to the property to the studio, and he said that's the best decision he ever made because I guess Boondock Saints merchandise is huge. So he's like super rich. I'm like, wow, okay, good for you.
It does have a fan base. I'm not one of them, but I'm glad that there are people out there who are fans.
Fine, but I never really watched it again. Like, it was really over the top, but I enjoyed some of the death scenes and some of the dialogue and stuff, but it was pretty hammy. But.
Well, it was, but it also came out in that wake of Pulp
It was
Fiction.
one of Tarantino. Yep.
Yeah, and so it's like, I want to see 3 Days in the Valley. And then
I would have loved that, dude. 2 Days in the Valley is one of the most underrated Tarantino ripoffs ever. That movie is fucking awesome. I love it.
James Spader's rad in it. Danny Aiello, Charlize Theron.
Dude, Danny Aiello is Dasmo Pizzo. Like, he's so great in that movie. 3 Days in the Valley. The whole 10 yards. You guys realize that makes no sense, right? We're playing off the phrase the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. The whole 10 yards. But that's also, and that's the thing. Like, I remember seeing the whole 9 yards, loving it. And then when they said they were making the whole 10 yards, because it came out around the same time as like Ocean's 11, Ocean's 13, that kind of thing. So you see the progression in what they're going with in the title. And they had everybody back, which didn't make any sense because Kevin Pollak's character, spoilers for the whole 9 yards, dies at the end of the first one. And
he's like his brother or something, right?
Yeah, it's his brother.
Yeah.
Or cousin, or uncle, or what? I don't
just happens to look and sound identical,
exactly like him. And it's like you got everybody back, and on paper, when you see it, it's like, oh, okay, this is gonna recapture the magic. And that is, speaking of flat Coca-Cola, it's like, oh no, why did you? But hey.
The number here's one of the biggest, the biggest mishap that sequels can make is turning an R-rated property into a PG-13 or a PG-rated sequel. Don't ask me how Major League, which is hard R, turned into a PG rated part 2. But the whole 10 yards was PG-13, and it lost a lot of the edge because the first one was R-rated with breasts and like butts and hardcore violence. Had Amanda Pete's boobs in like half that movie. And then the sequel is PG-13. It had no edge. It had no... there was just nothing there. I'm not saying you can't be funny when you're PG-13, but when your property is already set up as an R-rated property, and then you try to tone it down, what do you expect? You know?
Oh, yeah, John's got a good point, and this is something that I was looking forward to. Speaking of really, like, animated movies, I loved the first Tintin. And this was a whole plan that it was going to be produced by Peter Jackson and directed by Spielberg, which was the first one. And the second one was going to be directed by Peter Jackson and produced by Spielberg. And apparently it was, like, I don't know what the box office was on it, but I didn't think it was a bomb or anything. I thought it did well, but they never got around. I think Peter Jackson did the Hobbit movies instead.
I think it was, John might know, but I know that it cost a lot to make because it was just gorgeous animation.
Oh,
that
beautiful.
Animation is so cool. There was a lot of people calling that, because I think it came out a couple years after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, or right around that time. People were saying, this is what you should have done with your Indiana Jones movie, you know?
For sure.
But I remember loving Adventure. Was it called The Adventures of Tintin, I think?
It was like Tintin, and it wasn't the Black Pearl, because that's Pirates of the Caribbean, but it was about the boat, Tintin and the ghost ship of mysticism, or something. I have it. I've got the Blu-ray. I watched it recently.
Represent This is here, and he brings up a good one. I think we were talking about this not that long ago. The Last Starfighter would have been a great sequel. Man, especially maybe if you legacy sequeled it to where video games are so drastically different now. Like, you know, now they're looking for a different kind of pilot or a different kind of warrior or something like that to help fight a war. Good one. And hey,
that is a good one.
Sean, good to see you.
And that's with that, like, you could even modify to a certain and this sort of goes back to Jumanji, which admittedly people enjoyed, but instead of going to like a console arcade game, it's like, oh, I found this server and it's got this weird download code, and I downloaded this wicked game called whatever, Starfighters of Zorg. That's a good point too. Imagine like nowadays gamers are 50, 60 years old, but if it was like, you know, kids or something finding this old video game and just breaking it really fast, and you know, people on the planet are like, oh my god, people nowadays can just beat this game in 30 minutes. You know? But oh no, I'm writing it in my head as we speak. It's like some kid downloads it. He's heard about other people who started to play it and found out about it on streams, but the Twitch streams got taken down, and everyone was like, we can't even see gameplay footage of this. And then you find out that it's not like YouTube or Twitch that are taking down the streams. It's actually Star Command. And it's like, we don't want everybody to know about this.
You know what? I'm surprised now that we're talking about it. I'm like, wow, because I can't remember how that movie did, but everybody knows what it is, so it had to have been a success, maybe cult. But man, right now is a perfect time to make a sequel or whatever to Last Starfighter. I would totally see that.
Yeah, it would be, and part of the charm on it, well, actually, it would be interesting to see, just because, like, Jill and I are going to be revisiting The Last Starfighter on Friday on her channel, and it would be interesting to see, because it does, if I recall correctly, I haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it on Friday morning, but it starts off pretty slow. It starts off establishing the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you finally get into it, it does kick into high gear. But like, I'm wondering if there's that same patience in modern audiences. Like, and I know people say modern audiences is a derogatory term. I think that it has a lot to do with attention spans and pacing and editing speed. that is what is being geared towards modern audiences and not necessarily narrative content. That's why we get that kind of, we have to reimagine this for a modern audience. And it's like, what do you mean? And it's like, we have to feed it cocaine and put it on a hamster wheel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Perfectly stated. Yeah. That's what was going through my head as you were talking about that. Is you would have to speed it up. I mean, you don't necessarily have to. You remember how long Jurassic Park took to get going?
Oh yeah.
If it's engaging enough, and
Hello,
if you have characters that you care about and things are happening, and you're getting so enveloped into what's going on, when the story does pick up, you're like, oh shit, I almost forgot I was watching a Last Starfighter movie or whatever. Like. It's just good writing. It needs to be good writing because people's attentions will stay there if you give them a good enough reason to, I guess. But yeah, well, cocaine and hamster wheel is probably the route they go.
Well, in that exactly. There are so many movies when you hear about them.
Sorry, Tommy the kitty cat, Tommy the cat.
He likes monster movies as well.
I hope you're feeling better, my friend. I love you.
He's good. He's good. Thank you. The big healthy boy.
But that's also actually. But it's been a long time. Like Kong Skull Island. It takes like what does it take? Like 45 minutes before you see Kong. Like there are so many movies where it's like you don't see the titular character or monster for like an hour in. What about the first Superman? Yeah, the first Superman you don't see Superman in the suit until like an hour in.
No, and he magically becomes a different person in 1 second.
Well, yeah. Why wouldn't you?
But yeah, Aliens. Aliens is a really slow hour-long burn. But again, you love everything happening. You're following everybody. You're getting to know everybody. Yeah.
But when I watched and this goes back to our movie going experiences, and it wasn't a negative experience. I just sort of rolled my eyes at the audience. Is when I saw Blade Runner 2049, and I was watching it and I was loving the whole thing. That's when I fell in love with Ana de Armas. And then when Harrison Ford showed up at like an hour and a half in, there was a guy who literally yelled in the theater, and he was like, "Finally!" And it was like, yeah, we needed to see 60-year-old Harrison Ford quicker.
Finally, we can watch this like uninterested corpse sleepwalk through the movie.
Look at him try to run. His knees are busted.
Yeah, I don't care.
Oh man.
I got a couple more here. True Lies, but now that I think about it, I'm kind of glad they didn't, because if you remember, there's a lot of talk where Tom Arnold's like, yeah, I'm gonna help write it, and I'm like, no, dude, like you were funny in it, you're a scene stealer, but take a step back. You're the side character, you're the comic relief, stay that way. But James Cameron never wanted to do it, and I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger would have done anything James Cameron told him to do. But for some reason, John might know more than me, but for some reason didn't happen. Tango and Cash. Why was there no Tango, Cash, and Tango, Cash, and Stevens, and have that be like Chuck Norris or something? Tango, Cash, and another person. Another super cop. I think that would have been gangbusters, man. You get Kurt Russell, Sylvester Stallone, and at the time, would you have like Woody?
Now let's throw Woody Harrelson, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, yeah. Dude, it could have been called Tango, Cash, and Foley.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so Tango, Cash is another one I got. The Saint from 1997 was supposed to get a sequel. It did well, but everybody in the world hates working with Val Kilmer. So it never happened. What other ones you got, Scotty?
I'm scrambling now. But I am brainstorming. So you keep going, and I'll see if I can think of any more.
Demolition Man could have been a cool. There could have been a cool sequel there, even though the fish out of water aspect's kind of gone. It is sort of a bottle movie where it's somebody who's frozen, and so maybe that would. I like the character that Stallone played. So, but maybe that wouldn't have worked. Commando could have definitely had 10 sequels. It's just Matrix shooting people for various
Yeah, but he
reasons.
ends the movie. He ends the movie by saying, like, he's like, so no chance.
No chance. What else? Oh, this is the most recent one on my list, and will be my last. And it's not out of the realm of possibility yet, but a lot of people would love to see a sequel to Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. That movie was so much fucking better than anybody thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was so creative and entertaining and hilarious. I would love to see that. That's one of the ones where I don't care what the story would be. I don't care about like the member berries of the game. I love those characters. I want to see the characters in more stuff, you know. But yeah, so that's my last one. I know that one did okay. It really had legs because it didn't open up strong, but people were like, "Oh, this movie's fun." Yeah. I think, me and John and God, it must. Well, I know Josh. We saw it in what's it called? 4DX, where you're like on a ride.
Oh, yeah.
Like shaking and moving and stuff. It wasn't very necessary for that movie, but I don't really remember why I think it was like the best time to see it. So we had things shooting air and smells and water shooting at us and like the seats shaking and moving. But yeah, the movie was a fucking blast. But anyway, you come up with any other, Scotty?
Nah.
All right. Well, we can end with the chat. John says Scream 14.
Well, this is okay. So I was gonna say it's like I didn't know we were allowed to do like sequels that already got sequels. I was trying to originally think of this.
No, I said ones that either never got a sequel or never became franchises, and like I consider a franchise when you're like 3 or more. But you know.
right.
Represent this Big Trouble in Little China 2. Kurt Russell always said he wanted to play that character of Jack Burton again, but John Carpenter just never had like a story or an idea for a part 2, so it never even got into the writing phase, as far as I know.
Well, and even with speaking of John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, I wish that they had closed out the Pliskin trilogy with Escape from Earth.
I would have seen that.
Well, and if you do want to see essentially that, check out the guy
movie, right?
Lockout. Yeah.
Yes, he's basically Snake Plissken in that movie.
He's so good. Like, it is underrated. I think it's a French production, but it is. You watch that movie, and it's basically the Escape from Earth that you never got.
It's the same exact plot as Escape from New York and Escape from LA, and I love that movie. Yeah, Lockout. Yeah.
He plays one of the best sarcastic action heroes with one-liners and I don't give a fuck painted all over his character. It's so good. Guy Pearce is rad. I love him.
So versatile, man. That guy can do anything. He's a chameleon. But yeah, he's much more charismatic than Snake Plissken, and I would never say anybody's more charismatic than Kurt Russell. But Kurt Russell's Snake Plissken was his most stoic character that he's ever played, where Guy Pearce was more like a Han Solo in a way.
Yes. You know? Han Solo who swears.
Yes. And yes. Represents it, says John Carpenter loves sequels, hates them. Yeah, no, he does.
And the only reason
he'll do them for money, but he won't like it.
Well, and the only reason he got back together for Escape from LA is just because he likes working with Kurt Russell, and I think that was the last time that they did. And speaking of, oh man, I would check out it, and it's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't know how it ends and how many people die. But remember the James Woods Vampires movie?
Yeah, Vampires. Yeah,
fucking A.
With Thomas Ian Griffith.
Yeah, keep killing vampires. Get James Woods back.
I think
he needs to rebuild a house. Too soon.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I love James Woods. Like I said off the air earlier, I just watched Once Upon a Time in America today, and it's just like, damn, this is rad. This is so good.
James Woods is one of those guys that's always stole every movie that he's in when he's a small part. like everything. He steals everything. And then when he gets to be the star, like in something like Digstown, he's just phenomenal. You know, he can do the leading man, but he's also a great side character that just eats away at every other performance. I love that dude. He doesn't really act anymore, which sucks. But
and I just found this out that he was one of the producers on Oppenheimer.
He kept his name off it to respect. He didn't want the fact that he's a Trump supporter to hurt the movie. So out of respect to Nolan, he kept his name off of it, which I thought was very admirable and completely unnecessary and stupid that he had to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But that's very admirable that he did that. Yeah.
But
made a ton of money off of it because now he's got to build a new house. So
it's devastating for him, and I shouldn't make fun, but like he is still, you know, active in Hollywood. I think he's a fantastic performer. I didn't know he had moved into producing. I think it was Oscar night when Oppenheimer won, and he was like, I can finally say that I helped with this movie.
Yeah. We duped you all.
Yeah, exactly. We made the Oscars great again. Moga.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I'm good, guys. We're just rolling out our 2-hour times here. Anybody else? Scotty, what's coming up on Phantasmagorium? You doing something tomorrow?
Phantasmagorium tomorrow. We are Kat, Steve, and myself are going to be talking about Booger. I mean, we're going to be talking about. It's good to see you, sir. Terminator Dark Fate, which I have never seen before. So this is going to be a first time reaction. I know that the initial responses were not favorable, but I'll watch it tomorrow and report back tomorrow evening. As I mentioned on Friday, Jill and I on Antiderivative Jill's channel are going to be talking about The Last Starfighter. Terminator Dark Fate is on the Phantasmagorium. And as mentioned before, check out the Fletch retrospective, check out the Sideways conversation, and review. In fact, just subscribe to Cinema Gulp. Do it.
Please.
You're here.
And represent this says, don't watch it. I hope is referring to Dark Fate and not the Fletch retrospective.
I gotta. I've got the box set. I got the box set, and it's one that I haven't seen before. And I'm
wait to hear what you say about this movie.
Yeah,
I can't wait. Yeah,
it's been ups and downs throughout the series. Like I liked Genesis, and Kat and Steve didn't. I didn't like Salvation, and they did, and so it's been
so much shit for Salvation. I'm like, guys, we're all here for opinions.
No, I know, but that's
you didn't like it, and you got ganged up on. I'm like, dude, what's going on here? You guys,
but that's okay. That's okay. They can. I appreciate that they were wrong publicly.
You're just that whole time you're sitting there. You're like,
get off my case, motherfucker!
Takes different strokes to move the world. That's what I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen to Scotty. He's got Phantasmagorium stuff coming up, and then Jill, I'm guessing as well. We don't have a show. We don't have an edited show. We don't have a discussion show coming up yet because Scotty and I are working on one. But tomorrow morning, it's just a quick little drop where I'm dropping if J.J. Abrams made Predator. And it's just, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. There's just a Beastie Boys sabotage plane over a scene from Predator, but I think it's kind of funny. So,
it is. They're always great.
The fact that Scotty and I are working on this Predator retrospect, it got me thinking about that. I'm like, wow, this works really well. So that's coming out tomorrow. But other than that, be on the lookout for everything Scotty's up to. And in the coming weeks, probably the Predator one for us. So as always, Joanne, love you. Give Tommy many kisses. Love you, Tommy. Love you, Pat. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your day and night. And we love your body, Larry. Don't leave me hanging, Scotty.
We drink your cinema.
Oh, perfect. Even better.
Yeah.
Thanks. I needed that.